Chapter 7, Addy. Sunday, September 30th, 2:05 p.m. I shade my eyes against the sun outside the church, scanning the crowd until I spot Jake. He and the other pallbearer put Simon's casket into some kind of metal stretcher, then step aside as the funeral directors angle it toward the hearse. I look down, not wanting to watch Simon's body get loaded into the back of a car like an oversized suitcase, and somebody taps me on the shoulder. Addy Prentice? An older woman dressed in a boxy blue suit gives me a polite professional smile. I'm Detective Laura Wheeler with the Bayview Police. I want to follow up on the discussion you had last week with Officer Budapest about Simon Keller's death. Could you come to the station with me for a few minutes? I stare at her and lick my lips. I want to ask why, but she's so calm and assured it's like it's the most natural thing in the world to pull me aside after a funeral that it seems rude to question her. Jake comes up beside me then, handsome in his suit, and gives Detective Wheeler a friendly, curious smile. My eyes dart between them, and I stammer, can't we talk here? Detective Wheeler winces. So crowded, don't you think? And we're right around the corner. She gives Jake a half smile. Detective Laura Wheeler, Bayview Police. I'm looking to borrow Addy for a little while and get clarification on a few points related to Simon Keller's death. Sure, he says, like that settles things. This guy's on my nerves. Text me if you need a ride after ads. Luis and I will stick around downtown. We're starving and we got to talk offensive strategy for the next Saturday's game. Going to Glenn's probably. So that's it, I guess. I follow Detective Wheeler down the cobblestone path behind the church that leads to the sidewalk, even though I don't want to. Maybe this is what Ashton means when she says, I don't think for myself. It's 3 blocks to the police station, and we walk in silence past the hardware store, the post office, and an ice cream parlor where a little girl out front is having a meltdown about getting chocolate sprinkles instead of rainbow. I keep thinking I should tell Detective Wheeler that my mother will worry if I don't come straight home, but I'm not sure I could say it without laughing. We pass through the metal detectors in the front of the police station, and Detective Wheeler leads me straight to the back and into a small, overheated room. I've never been inside a police station before, and I thought it would be more, official looking. It reminds me of the conference room in Principal Gupta's office with worse lighting. The flickering fluorescent tube above us deepens every line on Detective Wheeler's face and turns her skin an unattractive yellow. I wonder what it does for mine. She offers me a drink, and when I decline, she leaves the room for a few minutes, returning with a messenger bag slung over one shoulder and a small, dark-haired woman trailing behind her. Both of them sit across from me at the squat metal table, and Detective Wheeler lowers her bag onto the floor. Addy, this is Lorna Shaloub, a family liaison for the Bayview School District. She's here as an interested adult on your behalf. Now, this is not a custodial interrogation. You don't have to answer my questions, and you are free to leave at any time. Do you understand? Not really. She lost me at interested adult. But I say sure, even though I wish more than ever I'd just gone home or Jake had come with me. Good. I'll hope you'll hang in here with me. My sense is, of all the kids involved, you're the most likely to have gotten in over your head with no ill intent. I blink at her. No ill what? No ill intent. I want to show you something. She reaches into her bag and pulls out a laptop. Miss Shaloub and I wait until she opens it and presses a few keys. I suck in my cheeks, wondering if she's going to show me the Tumblr posts. Maybe the police think one of us wrote them as some kind of an awful joke. If they ask me who, I guess I'd have to say Bronwyn, because the whole thing sounds like it's written by somebody who thinks they're 10 times smarter than everybody else. Detective Wheeler turns the laptop so it's facing me. I'm not sure what I'm looking at, but it seems like some kind of blog with the About That logo front and center. I give her a questioning look, and she says, this is the admin panel Simon used to manage content for About That. The text below last Monday's date stamp are his latest posts. I lean forward and start to read. First time this app has ever featured good girl BR, possessor of school's most perfect academic record. Except she didn't get that A in chemistry through plain old hard work. unless that's how you define stealing tests from Mr. C's Google Drive. Someone call Yale. On the opposite end of the spectrum, our favorite criminal, NM's back to doing what he does best, making sure the entire school is as high as it wants to be. Pretty sure that's a probation violation there in MLB plus CC equals a whole lot of green next June, right? Seems inevitable Bayview Southpaw will make a splash in the major leagues, but don't they have some pretty strict anti-juicing rules? Because CC's performance was most definitely enhanced during showcase season. AP and JR are the perfect couple. Homecoming princess and star running back, in love for 3 years straight. Except for that intimate detour A took over the summer with TF at his beach house. Even more awkward now that the guys are friends. Think they compare notes? I can't breathe. It's out there for everyone to see. How? Simon's dead. He can't have published this. Has someone else taken over for him? The Tumblr poster? But it doesn't even matter the how, the why, the when. All that matters is that it is. Jake will see it if he hasn't already. All the things I read before I got to my initials, it shocked me as I realized who they were about and what they meant, fall out of my brain. Nothing exists except my stupid, horrible mistake in black and white on the screen for the whole world to read. Jake will know, and he'll never forgive me. I'm almost folded in half with my head on the table and can't make out Detective Wheeler's words at first. Then some start breaking through. Can understand how you felt trapped. Keep this from being published. If you tell us what happened, we can help you, Addy. Only one phrase sinks in. Is this not published? It was queued up the next day, the day Simon died, but he never got a chance to post it, Detective Wheeler says calmly. Salvation. Jake hasn't seen this. Nobody has except this police officer, maybe other police officers. What I'm focused on is, and what she's focused on, are two different things. Detective Wheeler leans forward, her lips stretched in a smile that doesn't reach her eyes. You may already have recognized the initials, but those other stories were about Bronwyn Rojas, Nate McCauley, and Cooper Clay, the 4 of you who were in the room when Simon died. That's a weird coincidence, I manage. Isn't it? Detective Wheeler agrees. Addy, you already know how Simon died. We've analyzed Mr. Avery's room, and we can't see any way that peanut oil could have gotten into Simon's cup unless someone put it in there after he filled it from the tap. There were only 6 people in that room, one of whom is dead. Your teacher left for a long period of time, and the 4 of you who remained with Simon all had reasons for wanting him to keep quiet. Her voice doesn't get any louder, but it fills my ears like buzzing from a hive. Do you see where I'm going with this? This might have been carried out as a group, but it doesn't mean you share equal responsibility. There's a big difference between coming up with an idea and going along with it. I look at Miss Shaloub. She does look interested, I have to say, but not like she's on my side. I don't understand what you mean. You lied about being in the nurse's office, Addy. Did someone put you up to that? To removing the EpiPen so Simon couldn't be helped later? My heart pounds as I pull a strand of hair off my shoulder and twist it around my fingers. I didn't lie. I forgot. God, what if she makes me take a lie detector test? I'll never pass. Kids your age are under a lot of pressure today, Detective Wheeler says. Her tone is almost friendly, but her eyes are as flat as ever. The social media alone, it's like you can't make a mistake anymore, can you? It follows you everywhere. The court is very forgiving toward impressionable young people who act hastily when they have a lot to lose, especially when they help us uncover the truth. Simon's family deserves the truth, don't you think? I hunch my shoulders and tug at my hair. I don't know what to do. Jake would know, but Jake's not here. I look at Miss Shaloub tucking her short hair behind her ears, and suddenly Ashton's voice pops into my head. You don't have to answer any questions. Right. Detective Wheeler said that at the beginning, and the words push everything else from my brain with startling relief and clarity. I'm going to leave now. I say it with confidence, but I'm still not 100% sure I can do that. I stand and wait for her to stop me, but she doesn't. She narrows her eyes and says, "Of course. As I told you, this isn't a custodial interrogation, but please understand the help I can give you now won't be the same once you leave this room." "I don't need your help," I tell her, and walk out the door. Then out of the police station. Nobody stops me. Once I'm outside, though, I don't know where to go or what to do. I sit on a bench and pull out my phone, my hands shaking. I can't call Jake, not for this, but who does that leave? My mind's as blank as if Detective Wheeler took an eraser and wiped it clean. I built my entire world around Jake, and now it's shattered, I realize, way too late, that I should have cultivated some other people who care. A police officer with mom hair and a sensible suit just accused me of murder. And when I say care, I don't mean in an, "Oh my God, did you hear what happened to Addy?" kind of way. My mother would care, but I can't face that much scorn and judgment right now. I scroll to the A's in my contact list and press the name. It's my only option. And I say a silent prayer of thanks when she picks up. "Ash?" Somehow, I manage not to cry at my sister's voice. "I need help." Cooper. Sunday, September 30th, 2:30 p.m. When Detective Chang shows me Simon's unpublished About That page, I read everyone else's entry first. Bronwyn's shocks me. Nate's doesn't. I have no idea who the hell TF Addy supposedly hooked up with is, and I'm almost positive I know what's coming for me. My heart pounds as I spy my initials, because CC's performance was most definitely enhanced during showcase season. My pulse slows as I lean back in my chair. That's not what I expected. Although I guess I shouldn't be surprised. I improved too much too quickly. Even the Padres scout said something. Detective Chang dances around the subject for a while, dropping hints until I understand he thinks the four of us who were in the room planned the whole thing to keep Simon from posting his update. I try to picture it. Me, Nate, and the two girls plotting murder by peanut oil and Mr. Avery's attention. It's so stupid it wouldn't even make a good movie. I know I'm quiet for too long. Nate and I never even spoke before last week, I finally say, and I sure as heck never talked to the girls about this. Detective Chang leans almost halfway across the table. "You're a good kid, Cooper. Your record's spotless till now, and you've got a bright future. You made one mistake, and you got caught. That's scary, I get that. But it's not too late to do the right thing." I'm not sure which mistake he's referring to, my alleged juicing, my alleged murdering, or something we haven't talked about yet. But as far as I know, I haven't been caught at anything, just accused. Bronwyn and Addy are probably getting the exact same speech somewhere. I guess Nate would get a different one. "I didn't cheat," I tell Detective Chang, "and I didn't hurt Simon." Didn't. I can hear my accent coming. Didn't. I can hear my accent coming back. He tries a different tack. Wait, I gotta do that again. Hang on. "I didn't cheat," I tell Detective Chang, "and I didn't hurt Simon." I didn't. I can hear my accent coming back. He tries a different tack. "Whose idea was it to use the planted cell phones to get all of you into detention together?" I lean forward, palms pressed on the black wool of my good pants. I hardly ever wear them, and they're making me hot and itchy. My heart's banging against my chest again. Listen, I don't know who did that, but isn't it something you should look into? Like, were there fingerprints on the phones? Because it feels to me like maybe we were framed. The other guy in the room, some representative from the Bayview School District, hasn't said a word, nods like I've said something profound, but Detective Chang's expression doesn't change. "Cooper, we examined those phones as soon as we started to suspect foul play. There's no forensic evidence to suggest anyone else was involved. Our focus is on the four of you, and that's where I expect it to remain." Which finally gets me to say, I want to call my parents. The want part isn't true, but I'm in over my head. Detective Chang heaves a sigh like I've disappointed him, but says, "All right, you have your cell phone with you." You have your cell phone with you? When I nod, he says, "You can make a call here." He stays in the room while I call Pop, who catches on a lot faster than I did. "Give me that detective you're talking to," he spits. "Right now. And Cooperstown. Wait, Cooper, hold up. Don't you say another gosh darn thing to anyone." I hand Detective Cooper my phone and he puts it to his ear. I can't hear everything Pop's saying, but he's loud enough that I can get the basic idea. Detective Chang tries to insert a few words along the lines of how it's perfectly legal to question minors in California without their parents present, but mostly he lets Pop rant. At one point he says, no, he's free to go, and my ears prick up. It hadn't occurred to me that I could leave. Detective Jane gives my phone back, and Pop's voice crackles in my ear. "Cooper, you there? Get your ass home. They're not charging you with anything, and you're not going to answer any more questions without me and a lawyer." A lawyer? Do I actually need one of those? I hang up and face Detective Chang. "My father told me to leave." "You have that right," Detective Chang says, and I wish I'd known that from the beginning. Maybe he told me. I honestly don't remember. "But Cooper, these conversations are happening all over the station with your friends. One of them is going to agree to work with us, and that person will be treated very differently from the rest of you. I think it should be you. I'd like you to have that chance." I want to tell him he's got it all wrong, but Pop told me to stop talking. I can't bring myself to leave without saying anything, though, so I end up shaking Detective Chang's hand and saying, "Thank you for your time, sir." I sound like the ass kisser of the century. It's years of conditioning kicking in. Chapter 8. Bronwyn, Sunday, September 30th, 3:07 p.m. I'm beyond grateful my parents were with me at church when Detective Mendoza pulled me aside and asked me to come to the police station. I thought I'd just get a few follow-up questions from Officer Budapest. I wasn't prepared for what came next, and I wouldn't have known what to do. My parents took over and refused to let me answer his questions. They got tons of information out of the detective and didn't give up anything in return. It was pretty masterful. But now they know what I've done. Well, not yet. They know the rumor. At the moment, driving home from the police station, they're still ranting against the injustice of it all. My mother is, anyway. My father's keeping his attention on the road, but even his turn signals are unusually aggressive. "I mean," my mother says in an urgent voice that indicates she's barely warming up, "it's horrible what happened to Simon. Of course his parents want answers, but to take a high school gossip post and turn it into an accusation like this is just ludicrous. I can't fathom how anybody could think Bron would kill a boy because he was about to post a lie." "It's not a lie," I say, but too quietly for her to hear me. "The police have nothing." My father sounds like he's judging a company he's thinking of acquiring and finds it lacking. Flimsy circumstantial evidence. Obviously no real forensics or they wouldn't be reaching this way. That was a Hail Mary. The car in front of us stops short at a yellow light and Dad swears softly in Spanish as he brakes. "Bronwyn, I don't want you to worry about this. We'll hire an outstanding lawyer, but it's purely a formality. I may sue the police department when it's all over, especially if any of this goes public and harms your reputation." My throat feels like I'm getting ready to push words through sludge. "I did." I'm barely audible. I press the palm of my hand to my burning cheek and force my voice higher. "I did cheat. I'm sorry." Mom rotates in her seat. "I can't hear you, honey. What was that?" "I cheated." The words tumble out of me now. How I'd used a computer in the lab right after Mr. Camino and realized he hadn't logged out of his Google Drive. A file with all of our chemistry test questions for the rest of the year was right there. I downloaded it onto a flash drive almost without thinking about it, and I used it to get perfect scores for the rest of the year. The next few minutes in the car ride are horrible. Mom turns in her seat and stares at me with betrayal in her eyes. Dad can't do the same, but he keeps glancing in the rearview mirror like he's hoping to see something different. I can read the hurt in both their expressions. "You're not who we thought you were." My parents are all about merit-based achievement. Dad was one of the youngest CFOs in California before we were even born, and Mom's dermatology practice is so successful she hadn't been able to take on any new patients in years. They've been drumming the same message into me since kindergarten. Work hard, do your best, and the rest will follow. It always had, until chemistry. I guess I didn't know what to do about that. Bronwyn. Mom's still staring at me, her voice low and tight. My God, I never would have imagined you'd do something like that. This is terrible on so many levels, but most important, it gives you motive. I didn't do anything to Simon, I burst out. The hard lines of her mouth soften slightly as she shakes her head at me. I'm disappointed in you, Bronwyn, but I didn't make that leap. I'm just stating fact. If you can't unequivocally say that Simon was lying, this could get very messy. She rubs a hand over her eyes. Oh, how did he know you cheated? Does he have proof? I don't know. Simon didn't... I paused, thinking about that updates I'd read over the years. Simon never really proved anything. It's just everybody believed him because he was never wrong. Things always came out eventually. And here I thought I was in the clear, since I'd taken Mr. Camino's files last March. What I just don't get is, if Simon had known, why hadn't he pounced on it right away? I knew what I did was wrong, obviously. I even thought it might be illegal, although technically I didn't break into Mr. Camino's account since it was already open, but that part hardly seemed real. Maeve used her mad computer skills to hack into stuff for fun all the time, and if I thought of it, I probably would have asked her to get Mr. Camino's files for me, or even change my grade. But it wasn't premeditated. The file was in front of me in that moment, and I took it. Then I chose to use it for months afterward, telling myself it was okay, one hard class shouldn't ruin my whole future, which is kind of horribly ironic given what just happened at the police station. I wonder if everything Simon wrote about Cooper and Addy is true too. Detective Mendoza showed us all the entries, implying that somebody else might already be confessing and cutting a deal. I always thought Cooper's talent was God-given and that Addy was too Jake-obsessed to even look at another guy. But they probably never imagined me as a cheater either. With Nate, I don't wonder. He's never pretended to be anything other than exactly who he is. Dad pulls into our driveway and cuts the engine, slipping the keys from the ignition and turning to face me. Is there anything else you haven't told us? I think back to the claustrophobic little room at the police station, my parents on either side of me, as Detective Mendoza lobbed questions like grenades. Were you competitive with Simon? Have you ever been to his house? Did you know he was writing a post about you? Did you have any reason beyond this to dislike or resent Simon? My parents said I didn't have to respond to any of his questions, but I did answer that one. No, I said then. No, I say now, meeting my father's eyes. If he knows I'm lying, he doesn't show it. Nate, Sunday, September 30th, 5:15 p.m. Calling my ride home with Officer Lopez after Simon's funeral tense would be an understatement. It was hours later, for one thing, after Officer Buzzcut had brought me into the station and asked me half a dozen different questions, different ways whether I'd kill Simon. Officer Lopez had asked if she could be present during questioning, and he agreed, which was fine with me, although things got a little awkward when he pulled up Simon's drug dealing accusation, which, although true, he can't prove. Even I know that. I stayed calm when he told me the circumstances surrounding Simon's death gave police probable cause to search my house for drugs and that they already had a warrant. I'd cleared everything out this morning, so I knew they wouldn't find anything. Thank God Officer Lopez and I meet on Sundays. I'd probably be in jail otherwise. I owe her big time for that, although she doesn't know it. And for having my back during questioning, which I didn't expect. I've lied to her face every time we've met, and I'm pretty sure she knows that. But when Officer Buzzcut started getting heated, she dialed him back. I got the scene, eventually, that all they have is some flimsy circumstantial... I got the sense, eventually, that all they have is some flimsy circumstantial evidence and a theory they were hoping to pressure someone into admitting. I answered a few of their questions, the ones I knew couldn't get me in trouble. Everything else was some variation of, I don't know, and I don't remember. Sometimes it was even true. Officer Lopez didn't say a word from the time we left the police station until she pulled into my driveway. Now, she gives me a look that makes it clear even she can't find a bright side to what just happened. Nate, I won't ask if what I saw on that site is true. That's a conversation for you and a lawyer if it ever comes to that. But you need to understand something. If, from this day forward, you deal drugs in any way, shape, or form, I can't help you. Nobody can. This is no joke. You're dealing with a potential capital offense. There are 4 kids involved in this investigation, and every single one of them, except you, is backed by parents who are materially comfortable and present in their children's lives, if not outright wealthy and influential. You're the obvious outlier and scapegoat. Am I making myself clear? Jesus, she's not pulling any punches. Yeah, I got it. I've been thinking about it all the way home. All right, I'll see you next Sunday. Call me if you need me before then. I climb out of the car without thanking her. It's a bullshit move, but I don't have it in me to be grateful. I step inside our low-ceilinged home and the smell hits me right away. Stale vomit seeps into my nose and throat, making me gag. I look around for the source, and I guess today's my lucky day because my father managed to make it to the sink. He just didn't bother rinsing it afterward. I put one hand over my face and use the other to aim a spray of water, but it's no good. The stuff's caked on by now, and it won't come off unless I scrub it. We have a sponge somewhere, probably in the cabinet under the sink. Instead of looking though, I kick it, which is pretty satisfying. So I do it another 5 or 10 times, harder and harder until the cheap wood splinters and cracks. I'm panting, breathing in lungs full of puke-infested air, and I'm so effing sick of it all I could kill somebody. Some people are just too toxic to live. They just are. A familiar scratching sound comes from the living room. Stan, clawing at the glass of his terrarium, looking for food. I squirt half a bottle of dish detergent in the sink and aim another blast of water over it. I'll deal with the rest later. I get a container of live crickets from the refrigerator and drop them into Stan's cage. Wait, crickets can live in the refrigerator? My breathing slows and my head clears, but that's not exactly good news. If I'm not thinking about one shitstorm, I have to think about another. Group murder. It's an interesting theory. I guess I should be grateful the cops didn't try to pin the whole thing on me. And the other 3 to nod and get out of jail free. Ask the other 3 to nod and get out of jail free. I'm sure Cooper and that blonde girl would have been more than happy to play along. Maybe Bronwyn wouldn't, though. I close my eyes and brace my hands on the top of Stan's terrarium, thinking about Bronwyn's house, how clean and bright it was, and how she and her sister talked to each other like all the interesting parts of their conversation were things they didn't say. It must be nice, after getting accused of murder, to come home to a place like that. When I leave the house and get on my bike, I tell myself I don't know where I'm going, and I drive aimlessly for almost an hour. By the time I end up in Bronwyn's driveway, it's dinner time for normal people, and I don't expect anyone to come outside. I'm wrong, though. Someone does. It's a tall man in a fleece vest and a check shirt with short dark hair and glasses. He looks like a guy who's used to giving orders, and he approaches me with a calm, measured tread. Nate, right? His hands are on his hips, a big watch glinting on one wrist. I'm Javier Rojas, Bronwyn's father. I'm afraid you can't be here. He didn't sound mad, just matter of fact. But he also sounds like he's never meant anything more in his life. I take my helmet off so I can meet his eyes. Is Bronwyn home? It's the most pointless question ever. Obviously she is, and obviously he's not going to let me see her. I don't even know why I want to, except that I can't. And because I want to ask her, what's true? What did you do? What didn't you do? You can't be here, Javier Rojas says again. I'm sure you don't want police involvement any more than I do. He's doing a decent job of pretending I wouldn't be his worst nightmare, even if I weren't involved in a murder investigation with his daughter. That's it, I guess. Lines are drawn. I'm the obvious outlier and scapegoat. There isn't much else to say. So I reverse out of his driveway and head home.